В нашем проекте «Реальные люди» сегодня мы поговорим о возможностях Совета Европы для сохранения и развития языков народов России. Как известно, в Госдуму внесен законопроект, который выводит языки народов России из обязательной части школьной программы. В свою очередь, Москва продолжает игнорировать обязательство стать участницей языковой хартии Совета Европы. У нас в гостях по скайпу председатель комитета экспертов Европейской хартии региональных языков или языков национальных меньшинств Совета Европы Весной Црныч-Гротич. Good morning, Ms. Црныч-Гротич. Thank you very much for accepting our invitation to the program. Could you tell us why the Charter should be seen as an effective tool to protect and develop languages?
Yes. Good morning and доброе утро. The Charter is, of course, the only document and the only instrument, not just within the Council of Europe, that is dedicated particularly to the protection and promotion of minority languages. This fact makes it quite unique, and it is, of course, the purpose of this instrument and the final goal is to, as the Spanish would call it, normalize the use of minority languages in public life.
Russia has signed the Charter. This country also signed an obligation to ratify it. However, as we know, it hasn't ratified the Charter. Are there any legal mechanisms for Moscow to step back?
That is a rather difficult question because Russia is not the only country that has not fulfilled its post-accession commitment. There are several other countries. And at this point, I don't think that the Council of Europe has many legal tools. It has political tools to make and convince Russia and other countries to fulfill their obligation. Because that was as a political commitment that they will ratify the Charter after they were introduced, they became members of the Council of Europe. So it is both basically a political commitment for Russia and other countries.
So if Russia refuses to fulfill its obligations, are there any procedure to punish it?
No, not in this layman terms. Punishment is not something that was foreseen. As far as I know, Russia at present has a dispute with the Council of Europe, and that this is a very difficult political dispute, mostly due to the Crimea situation. This is as far as I know. So the legal situation is difficult because Russia has committed itself to respect the basic instruments of the Council of Europe, including its statute, where it is strictly provided for the respect of these obligations. When Russia doesn't comply with it, legally, it is the situation where Russia may be responsible, but at the same time, there is no real legal mechanism to force it to commit itself to these obligations. Basically, only the Convention on the European Convention on the Protection of Human Rights is an instrument with legal. How should I put it? Legal mechanism to establish the responsibility. All the other instruments depend pretty much on the political commitment of states.
Russian authorities often fear that development of languages may promote separatism. Are there any examples in the member states where the Charter ratification led to separatism?
I wouldn't say that it can be connected to the ratification of the Charter. My impression is that if there was already a problem existing before the ratification of the Charter, then the problem will not go away simply, or it will not become worse simply by ratifying the Charter. What the Charter helps in these situations is to help the minority languages become more important, more visible, and in that respect also more satisfying to the users of these languages. So I wouldn't connect separatism with the ratification of the Charter. So far we have not witnessed any separatist movement connected to the ratification of the Charter. The events that are happening in Spain, that has nothing to do with the Charter. It has to do with other political problems that were there even before the Charter was ratified.
As you know, Russia has many languages, so these languages have different status in Russia. In case of ratification, we know that in some republics there are state languages, like in Tatarstan, Tatar language, but in Bashkortostan, Bashkir language. In case of ratification, their status will be decreased or not?
No. The Charter is very specific because it has two parts. One part is dedicated to the protection of all the minority languages or regional languages spoken within the territory of that state. And this part contains objectives and goals that have to be followed by the state authorities. The other part, the so-called Part 3 of the Charter, is based on the so-called menu system, where states are free to choose particular languages and particular undertakings for enhanced protection of these languages. Now, I understand that the number of languages in Russia is really, really big. They don't have the same status. Realistically, some of them are bigger, some of them are smaller, some of them are more or less prominent. So what the Charter offers is the opportunity for bigger, stronger languages to have a wider field of application. So the Charter can ensure that these languages get applied, get used by more people and in more official settings. The Charter offers protection in the field of education, administration, judicial authorities, cultural field, media, then interstate relationships, and so on. So the fields are many, the opportunities are many, and the state authorities, together with the representatives of the speakers, can choose the best options for their languages. And this is this unique feature of the Charter, that it is adaptable to different situations of the languages. At the same time, I have to say that giving a formal official status to all the languages spoken in the territory really doesn't bring the results as the results would come under the Charter. Because if there is no real application of these languages, then just a formalistic status of the co-official language doesn't really help the promotion and protection of these languages.
Mm-hmm. Which country among those that ratified the Charter can be regarded as the best example of language protection policy?
You mean for the Tatar language?
No, I mean generally among the states that are member states of the convention.
It is not really possible to grade the success of the states exactly because of this Part 3. Because if the state, when ratifying, was less ambitious, then of course formalistically it will be more successful in achieving the results or fulfilling the obligations under the Charter. At the same time, if a state was more ambitious when ratifying, then the shortcomings will be more obvious. I will give you two examples. Comparison, for example, between Denmark and Spain. In Denmark, in the judiciary, Denmark opted for very low undertaking under Part 3 for this one single language that is a minority language in Denmark, and that is German. At the same time, we have Spain that ratified very ambitious undertakings for its co-official languages in particular autonomous communities. And of course, when Spain ratified to provide for proceedings in a minority language, then it becomes very difficult or rather complex to fulfill this undertaking to the fullest. So it all depends on the situation of each language and on the ratification instrument, which should be, and this is something we have always emphasized, which should be coordinated with the representatives of the speakers of these particular languages, so as to reflect fully the real situation of these languages.
Currently, Russia has very deep language conflict, as Moscow had decided to make all the languages except Russian optional. It stimulated resistance of regions. Could Moscow avoid this conflict if it had ratified the Charter?
I would dare to say yes, because the Charter will then give opportunities to regional authorities to better adapt to their linguistic situation. At the same time, we also have to keep in mind that the Charter doesn't exclude the learning and the use of the official language of the state. So even in countries that ratified the Charter, the official language is not excluded. So it is expected that minorities also learn the official language and also use it in the dedicated fields. But the signing and ratifying of the Charter, as I said, gives local communities much better chance to really adapt the legislative and the practical setting for the protection and promotion of the languages that are spoken within their territory.
If Russia ratifies the Charter, will it mean that ethnic Russians will be obliged to learn Tatar in Tatarstan, or all the provisions of the Charter will refer only to Tatars of the Republic?
Well, one may ask why not? Why wouldn't they learn the minority language? But as I just said, the Charter doesn't exclude the official language of the state. At the same time, the Charter also provides for the possibility to offer minority language courses to people who live in the same area but do not speak the language. So actually, if you have Tatar as the official or co-official language of a particular part of the territory, then it should be also, there should be a possibility for the non-speakers to learn the language. I will give you an example from my own country, from Croatia, where we have, where I live nearby, in Istria, in the region of Istria, we have Italian as a traditional language spoken on the territory, and many non-Italian children attend the classes because people want to learn Italian as the language of the community, and the language is used in the streets freely and openly and without any restraints.
So does it mean that, I would like to turn to your example from your country, Croatia. Does it mean that ethnic Croatians who are living in this region where Italian language is a traditional language, does it mean that they are obliged to learn Italian language? Oh, no. Does it mean just they have an opportunity to learn it?
They have an opportunity, and this opportunity is well used by the speakers in this concrete example. because, well, you may argue it's Italian, so it's an important language, and it's a benefit to learn it and to know it, but it is not presented as an obligation of the non-Italian speakers, but as an opportunity for the non-Italian speakers to learn the language.
Does it is the situation in Catalan region the same?
In the Catalan region, it's the same. There was, as far as I remember, there was a provision in the Statute of Autonomy of the Catalan region providing for the obligatory learning of the Catalan language for all. But then the Supreme Court of Spain reduced it to the opportunity. So everybody has a right to learn Catalan, but not an obligation. That is connected in a way to this previous statement that I made, that the official language of the state is not excluded from the minority community, and that they also have an opportunity and, well, you may even argue a duty to learn it, because it will be for the better integration of the minority language speakers in the society as a whole.
Thank you very much. It was very interesting. У нас в гостях была председатель Комитета экспертов Европейской хартии региональных языков или языков национальных меньшинств Совета Европы Весна Црныч-Гротич. Смотрите нас на нашем сайте idelreal.org, а также на наших страницах в соцсетях. До новых встреч!